afternoon. Welcome to another exciting edition of Reading with Mr. Eble. This guy. We're going to keep on reading Grenade. We're going to do pages 31 to 43 because he doesn't really have chapter numbers. He has chapter titles. So here we go. The next chapter, it's about Hideki, and it's called Blood and Iron. Boom. Hideki flinched, but he didn't run. He sat in the safety of a cave, watching through its entrance as American shells exploded over the next hill. He could feel the vibrations deep inside the island's bedrock. Hideki and the other boys had made their way down to the beaches, intending to seek out the Americans, but the constant shelling from the ships in the harbor had driven them away, and they'd sought shelter inside one of Okinawa's many natural caves. The rest of the boys were deeper inside, talking and laughing. Hideki would have joined them, but Yoshio was there, and it always paid to stay as far away from Yoshio as possible, even if it meant being closer to the American bombs. Hideki sucked on a piece of kanpan, a tough dried biscuit. He hated to already eat what little... A fan is blowing the pages. Here we go. He hated to already eat what little food the army had given him, but he was hungry. And besides, the Imperial Japanese Army was going to drive the Americans from the island in a matter of days, weren't they? If everything went the way the IJA promised, the battle would be over soon. Then Hideki's mother and brother would come home from Japan, and his father and sister would come home from the front lines. The whole family would be together again. It had been almost 8 months since his mother and little brother Isamu went away. Since Hideki, too, was supposed to go away, he still remembered that day as though he had a picture of it. The hot August sun, the narrow docks, the throngs of Okinawans pressing toward the big black passenger ships, waiting to take them north to mainland Japan. Hideki's mother carried Isamu in her arms, and Isamu clutched his little papier-mâché lion dog. Hideki followed behind with his father and his older sister, Kimiko. You'll be safe in Japan. Yes, much safer than on Okinawa, Hideki's father said, as though he was trying to convince himself, too. Otto was short, like Hideki, but stocky, with a mustache and a trim black beard. He stood next to Hideki's sister, who was already taller than both their mother and father. Kimiko was thin and elegant, with a white streak in her long black hair that had marked her since she was little as a yuta, a person who could see and speak to the dead. Otto and Kimiko were there to say goodbye, not go with them. Otto had already been drafted into the IJA to fight, and Kimiko had been taken from her school and pressed into service as a nurse in an army hospital. Hideki hugged his sister and his father, his heart aching. His family had never been apart before. He hated to leave them, but he hurried to join his mother and little brother so Kimiko and his father couldn't see his tears. He was almost on board the ship when someone grabbed him roughly by the arm. Here, what's this? Demanded a scowling Japanese soldier. He held Hideki back. Just where do you think you're going? How old are you? 13, Hideki said, surprised. Almost 14. 14's old enough to fight, the soldier barked. Kimiko stepped between them. You don't understand, she told the soldier. Hideki's a scaredy cat. 350 years ago, one of our ancestors died like a coward, and now every third generation, the oldest boy is born afraid. This time around, it's Hideki. Until our ancestor's spirit finds peace, he's worthless in a fight. Hideki's face burned red with embarrassment, but everything his sister said was true. Superstitious dojin, the soldier muttered, and Hideki heard his father gasp. Dojin was a rude way of saying primitive natives. The soldier was basically calling them animals. Hideki's fists tightened around the sack of clothes he carried. He was a coward, but it wasn't his fault. He was just born that way. And no amount of ceremonies and offerings to his ancestor had been able to free him from it. Maybe, he thought, it was time to try a more direct approach. Maybe it was time to override his ancestor's cowardice with his own bravery. Hideki stood tall. I'm going to stay, he announced. His father and sister protested, but there was no time, and they couldn't make him go. His mother and little brother were swept up the ramp by the surging crowds, and Hideki waved goodbye to them. The Japanese soldier nodded his approval at Hideki and went to harass someone else. Kimiko smacked Hideki on the back of the head. Idiot, she told him. Kimiko's rebuke echoed in Hideki's mind now as the shelling from the American battleships abruptly stopped. The silence was startling. There could only be one reason the Americans weren't shooting anymore, Hideki realized, because they were afraid of hitting their own soldiers. That meant there had to be Americans nearby. The bushes outside the cave rustled, and Hideki's breath caught in his throat. He pulled one of his ceramic grenades from his jacket pocket and removed the rubber cap. He wished he had one of the real grenades, the kind where you just pulled a safety pin to activate it. He held the striking cap close to the fuse, his hand shaking. Who goes there? Hideki called, trying his best to hide the fear in his voice. People emerged from the bushes, and Hideki relaxed. It was an Okinawan family, an old woman, a mother with a baby in her arms, and a girl much younger than Hideki who clung to his mother's dress. You must let us in, please, the mother said, trying to keep her voice down. There are Americans all around us. We can't let them capture us. She pulled her children closer. The old woman's face was streaked with tears. Come on in then, hurry, Hideki told them. Yoshio and some of the other boys had noticed that the bombing had stopped, and they came to the mouth of the cave to see what was happening. As soon as he saw the Okinawan family trying to come inside, Yoshio blocked their way. Where do you think you're going? Yoshio said. You can't come in here. This is a military cave. Hideki wanted to argue. Wasn't it the army's job to protect the people of Okinawa? But he didn't want Yoshio to turn on him again. Go away, Yoshio told the family. Yes, Hideki said, brandishing his grenade to show them he meant business. This cave belongs to the Blood and Iron Student Corps. Go hide somewhere else. A strange noise came from the other side of the hill, motorized rumbling like the sound of a bus. The women and children heard it too, and they turned and ran away, screaming. Hideki's heart raced, and his stomach twisted. Was this it for real? Had some of the Americans gotten past the beach? Was he finally going to have to fight? Hideki, go see what it is, Yoshio said. He shoved Hideki with both hands, and Hideki stumbled outside into the harsh daylight. Be brave like the kamikazes, Hideki reminded himself. Grenade in one hand, rubber striking cap in the other, he took a deep breath and ducked into the bushes at the top of the hill. He crept forward until he could see over the ridge. The dirt path below him was lined with American vehicles. Gray trucks filled with soldiers. Enormous clanking green things with cannons on top and treads for wheels. Open-top jeeps, pulling giant guns on trailers. There were scores of them. They kept coming around the bend in the road, and kept coming and coming. Hideki ducked deeper into the thicket, afraid they would see him. His hands shook. How was this possible? How had the American devils been able to get so many vehicles past the Japanese defenses? Hideki had seen more automobiles on that road in 5 minutes than there had been in all of Okinawa before the war. Hideki's shaking fear crystallized into a hard knot in his stomach, and he knew what he had to do. He had to take out one of those trucks with a grenade. This was his moment. This was his fate. He stood up, fully exposed if any of the soldiers in the trucks had bothered to look up at him, and got ready to strike the matchlight fuse on his grenade. For the Emperor, Hideki told himself, for Japan, for my family. Hands grabbed Hideki and pulled him back into the bushes before he could activate his grenade. Hideki turned around. It was Yoshio. What are you doing? Hideki cried. The Americans, they're close by, Yoshio told him. I know, the road down there is full of them. No, you fathead, closer than that, Yoshio said. One of the boys heard somebody crashing through the forest. We're all going to attack. Hey, the next chapter is Ray. It's called Pigs to the Slaughter. There we go. Down, down, down! Sniper! Starks yelled. Ray scrambled under the wooden fence that kept the pig inside. Pack! Another bullet hit right where he'd been lying 2 seconds ago. Ray flattened himself in the mud. There was a ridge underneath the fence that was just tall enough to hide behind, but no more. He held his helmet with both hands as the rest of his squad crawled under the fence and flopped into the muck beside him. What about hard luck? Starks asked. There was barely room for all 5 of them behind the little ridge. Dead, Sergeant Meredith answered. He unlatched the bayonet from his rifle, balanced his helmet on top of the bayonet, and slowly raised his rifle above the ridgeline. Pack! The sound of the sniper's rifle was quickly followed by the sound of the bullet hitting the helmet. Pang! Ray watched the helmet tumble toward the pig, who was still snuffling away on the other side of the pen. Ray saw the hole where the bullet had gone clean through the helmet. He swallowed hard. Dang, that guy's good, Gonzalez said. Wait, shh, the sergeant said. He waved them all quiet, and over the sound of the pig grunting, Ray heard a sound he recognized from his hunting days. Bolt action, Ray whispered. Sergeant Meredith nodded, and Ray felt a quick lick of pride, like he'd answered a question right in class. He has to manually chamber a new round every time he fires, the sergeant said. That gives us a chance. You think you'd recognize that sound again? He asked Ray. Ray nodded. All right, Gonzalez. Big John, get those bars ready to go. Ray, next time the sniper shoots, I want you to get over that fence and run to that well on the other side of the road. We'll lay down cover fire for you. You hide there, and the next time you hear the bolt action, you chuck a grenade at it. Got it? Run across an open road with a sniper out there? Ray's breath came quick. He felt lightheaded, but he nodded. He wriggled out of his pack, pushed his helmet down on his head again, and gripped his M1 rifle so hard his knuckles turned white. He would do it. He had to do it. This was what he'd signed on for, after all. Why he'd left his home in Nebraska. He remembered how his father had argued with him, forbidding him to go. "You've got a deferment from the government," his father shouted. "You don't have to go. We still need you on the farm." I gotta do my part before the war ends," Ray had told him. There hadn't been a whipping this time. Ray was too old for that. It was hypocritical for his pa to protest anyway, and they both knew it. Ray's father had done the same thing when he was Ray's age, run off to join the Marines to fight in the Great War. And they both knew the real reason Ray had wanted to leave home. The long scar on his left arm peeking out from his shirt sleeve was all the reminder Ray needed. A bullet hit the mud with a thwack, a half an inch from Big John's boot. "Jumpin' Jehoshaphat!" Big John yelled, wiggling his legs up closer to him. But Ray was already leaping over the fence. His feet hit the ground with a thump, and he ran like blue blazes for the protection of the stone well across the road. The well had appeared closer before, but now it looked like it was half a mile away. "Stay low, run like hell," he thought. Behind him, Gonzalez and Big John opened up with their big Browning automatics to create cover fire for Ray. Cha-chung, cha-chung, cha-chung. The guns chewed the ferns and palm fronds along the bank into shreds. Ray stumbled but kept his feet, desperately trying to remember how long it had been since the last sniper shot. 3 seconds? 4? How long did it take him to chamber a new bullet after he'd taken a shot at a deer? Ray made it across the dirt road and soon threw himself at the base of the round well. The bars stopped firing. Ray's chest heaved, and he struggled to catch his breath. No time to rest, though. He dropped his rifle and fumbled for a grenade, his hand shaking. He wondered if the sniper had even seen him through all that cover fire. Pow! A piece of the stone wall blew up in Ray's face, and he ducked away. That answered that question. The sniper's rifle report was much louder now, much closer. Ray popped up, heart in his throat, and strained to listen for the sound of the rifle's bolt sliding back and forth. He was totally exposed standing there, and Gonzalez and Big John couldn't fire again to cover him. We wouldn't be able to hear the sound of the bolt. There. Ray picked a spot in the trees he thought the sound had come from, pulled the pin, and threw his grenade toward the green hillside. He dropped down and grabbed his helmet to his head. Kathoom! The hillside above him exploded, showering everything with dirt and rocks and plants. "Hands in the air! Stay where you are!" Sergeant Meredith yelled. Ray grabbed his rifle and peeked out from behind the well. The sniper had tumbled out of the ground cover on the hill and was just getting to his feet. Ray hadn't hit him, but he flushed him from hiding. Rifle raised, Ray got to his feet and ran at the Japanese soldier. Where was he Okinawan? He wasn't wearing a uniform and didn't have any other equipment. "Dang, he's just a kid," the old man said as the others ran up. He was a kid, Ray realized. He was cowering and sniffling like he'd gotten in trouble. Couldn't have been more than 12 years old. "Well, there's your first Jap," Big John told Ray. "I think he's Okinawan," said Ray. "If he was shooting at us, he's a Jap," Big John said. "So you took him prisoner?" Ray asked. "I got my Japanese phrase book." Sergeant Meredith shook his head. "Can't take prisoners, kid. We have to keep moving." Ray didn't understand. "But what about the support services for Okinawans?" "That's for refugees," the sergeant told him. "He's an enemy combatant." "You want to do the honors?" Big John asked Ray. "You flushed him out." Ray still didn't understand what was going on. Sergeant Meredith shook his head at Big John. Big John shrugged, pulled out his pistol, and shot the boy. Ray almost jumped out of his boots, but only Gonzalez flinched with him. The others, the ones who'd been together at Palulu and beyond, they didn't bat an eye. Big John put his pistol back in its holster and clapped Ray on the shoulder. "Now," he said, "let's take Hard Luck's body back and get you to cooking up that pig." So we'll stop there. Again, we're going to be posting these up on our YouTube channel as well. So thanks for watching. Students, keep working hard, keep doing the best that you can. Take care of each other. Most importantly, stay safe. And remember, range is the way.